Hello, my dudes. I just wanted to sit down and make a super casual kind of chit-chat video talking about the college admissions scandal. I'm well aware that this topic has been covered a lot in the news and on YouTube, but a few of my Instagram followers did request that I speak about it, and I think that I have a couple of things to add to the situation overall. In case you don't know what I'm referring to, here's a little bit of a summary.
The rich and famous accused of paying top schools to get their kids through the admissions process.
Huffman, Loughlin, and 46 other parents and college coaches are caught up in the investigation.
An athletic coach was accused of taking a bribe in return for arranging the admission of Lori Loughlin's daughters in spots reserved for the crew team. One big problem:
the teens, Isabella and Olivia, are said never to have participated in the sport of rowing.
But I do want the experience of game days, partying. I don't really care about school.
So in this video, I don't want to get too deep into the details of this exact situation because, again, I feel like so many people have talked about it. But I think there are definitely other points to discuss with this whole concept of basically the intersections of wealth and power and accessibility and success. Okay, first of all, my immediate reactions when hearing about this news story was just, wow, this is fascinating. It is so interesting to hear the specific details of exactly what specific people, especially people we're familiar with in the public eye, what they have done to get into whatever school or to get their kid into whatever school. Because as a lot of people have said, it's no surprise necessarily that people with money use it to get what they want, but I think I'm not alone in feeling this weird satisfaction in hearing, first of all, the lengths that these people have gone to in trying to scam their kids' way into school. But even more satisfying is the fact that they have finally gotten caught. Because, okay, I may feel bad for the individuals because this is probably mortifying, but I don't feel bad that you had to spend $500,000 to get your daughter into a school that she didn't even care to go to. The things that these parents have done are extremely illegal and extremely immoral, and they deserve to face actual consequences. Again, so often the wealthiest people in this country and around the world do not actually end up facing consequences for their actions. Like the rest of us who don't have, say, the money or the best legal representation available, the rest of us would have to actually face consequences. So it's kind of refreshing to actually see people get exposed in this sense for something that is a serious problem. This is fraud. The things that these parents have done are serious, and it really shows a big element of our college and university system that needs to be addressed and looked at more closely. So let me just say, I do not hate people who are wealthy. I have nothing against people who have earned money in a legal way. I have nothing against people who have become rich in an honest way. But I definitely have a problem with wealthy people who either take advantage of other people, make their money at other people's expense, or do something like this. So this situation is infuriating for a number of reasons, but I'm going to touch on a few. The first thing is obviously that these kids getting into colleges that they do not deserve to get into, that they had to cheat their way into, or their parents had to pay their way into, takes away from more deserving students. And secondly, it's infuriating because it's a representation of how our society and our government functions as a whole. So let's touch on that first point again. I got a message from one of my Instagram followers saying that she went to an elite kind of school. And the fact that as either a person of color or as a low-income student at any type of an elite school, students often feel like they don't belong there because they are a minority in that the majority of people who go to elite schools or can afford to go to elite schools are wealthy. That divide exists. And the girl who messaged me was saying that she has felt a kind of imposter syndrome in being at a school and feeling like she didn't deserve to be there, like somehow she didn't fit in there. When actually we have literal imposters, literal kids of wealthy people who have literally scammed their way into the school. Those people are the imposters. If you have worked hard and you deserved to get into that school, you should not be feeling like an imposter. But again, I personally fall into the bracket of what would be considered a low-income student. I probably would not be comfortable going to an elite school, especially an expensive school with lots of wealthy students, because it sucks to feel like you're the only broke kid around surrounded by millionaires and billionaires. I don't know. Anyway, on that note, the hilarious but also extremely bothersome thing about this situation is that these kids of wealthy parents have probably had every opportunity that they could have possibly had to get the best education and earn a spot at a really great school. Most likely, they were in private schools their whole life. They could probably afford to have extra tutoring whenever they needed it. All of the SAT or ACT prep that they could ever need. Also, children of wealthy parents probably never had to work a day in their lives. And I know that I had to work through high school just to afford my own bills. And there are a lot of students who have to work throughout high school and or college just to be able to make ends meet because their parents cannot provide everything for them. Major kudos to any students like that because just getting through school on its own is really hard. To put in the extra time that it takes to work a job on top of that is exhausting, and it takes a lot of your mental space and your physical energy. And that's just not a situation that the children of wealthy parents have to encounter. They never have to work out of obligation because their parents can pay for anything that they need. Also, the fact that there are so many really, really talented and intelligent students who deserve to go to these top schools, but they can't afford it. Even with all the financial aid available, there is still usually a gap. It's insane to me that if your family is wealthy and your parents can afford literally any price tag, the best school that you can get into, you get to go to. For a lot of other students who cannot afford that, they may get into a really great school, their top choice school, but have to go to one that just fits their affordability. Anyway, moving past that, my big point that I really wanted to touch on in this video is the fact that this country is literally an oligarchy. It has been proven in studies that the United States is ruled by the wealthy. A small number of elites have the most influence and control in this country in terms of what legislation is passed, and a lot of times in which politicians get elected because they are donors for those politicians. I mean, I love a little bit of political science. So anyway, you imagine this child born to a wealthy family. From the minute they're born, they are guaranteed financial security and connections and future possibilities, probably the chance to take over their parents' company or at least inherit a lot of wealth. Then you look at the average American, and we are actually on track to be less successful than our parents, have less financial security than our parents. And that's where education comes into play, you know? So many of us believe, because we have to, that there is chance for us to have upward social mobility. If we study hard, we work hard, we do well in high school, we go to a great college, we work to get a good job, we believe that we can work hard and, against a lot of odds that are stacked against us, be successful or at least stable. Anyway, I'm sorry, this is probably all over the place. But just imagine, like, currently, how many people in our government, say, or in positions of power, have basically only inherited those positions or have earned those positions due to, I don't know, their parents' connections or how much money they can donate to a certain politician or group. Money is power. Power is influence. When we have a handful of elites who are basically controlling our country and our government through their money, and they control policies like education, like public education, can we expect that handful of wealthy elites to understand what the average person is going through? Are they going to be pushing for policies that the average American could benefit from? No. Guess what they vote for? Guess who they donate campaign contributions to? Anyone who's going to give them tax breaks, basically, so that those wealthy families can continue to get richer and hoard their wealth, pass it on to their children, scam their way into colleges, and continue the cycle. Meanwhile, we as in regular people who are not obnoxiously wealthy, we're all struggling and the middle class is disappearing. Loves it. Anyway, I don't know if this video even made sense, but those are my general thoughts. Again, this was not like one of my typical videos. Recently, I have been more inclined to outline videos and kind of plan what I have to say, but instead today I've just been mulling it over and all of these random thoughts and angry tangents have been popping into my head. In conclusion, I am glad to see criminals facing consequences and potentially going to jail for the crimes that they have committed. I don't feel bad if you're wealthy. I don't feel bad if you were on a popular sitcom in the 90s because you broke the law, and the rest of us would not get a pass if we did the same. We need to hold people accountable on all economic levels. The rich need to be going to jail for the crimes that they commit. So speaking of social inequality and wealth inequality in this country and mass incarceration, the poor and people of color are disproportionately so much more likely to go to prison than wealthy people, even though we have quite a large number of wealthy people committing huge crimes and somehow getting away with it. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments below. You can follow me on Instagram for some mediocre pics, and stay tuned for my next video. Okay, thanks, bye!